is who I am. And, and that's just, it's okay. And that's okay to just be who you are and know what you need, and to tell people that and not be afraid, and to say no when somebody asks you to eat something is going to hurt you, or drink something or do something, anything like that. I feel like for me, it was like, I need to do this and I'm going to do this. Like, I'm not going to compromise. I have my non-negotiables.
Hello and welcome to the F.E.E.L Podcast this week. I've got a new guest here with me today, and she has quite a story to tell. And sadly, it's not as uncommon as you might think. This journey that she's been on with her health, and now how she's not only a resource for herself, but a resource for other women. But this is one of those areas that I talk about on the F.E.E.L Podcast that we need to bring more attention and light to. I've had my own experience with this in my own family, and I've seen the frustration that can come up when we're not getting answers that we need from doctors, when they're telling us there's nothing wrong, when there's very clearly something wrong. And in finding people that are willing to ask a different set of questions, run a different set of labs, get curious, and look for a reason instead of a Band-Aid. And Lea's got so much that and more to share with us today. I want to welcome Lea Dombrowski to the F.E.E.L Podcast. She describes herself as motivated, strong, and dedicated. Thank you, Lea, so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you and to share your story and give this, let other women know they're not alone in this. And, so I think that's a big thing. So let's start with prioritizing self-care in your life. And self-care for you is healthcare. It's not just about the little basic surface things. It's truly something you have to pay, attention to so you can be the healthiest version of yourself. Talk to me about your journey in getting
there. Yeah, it's so funny because I feel like my journey, it started when I was really young, like right off the bat, like as soon as I was born, I had chronic infections, and like I pretty much always had stuff going on. So It wasn't like, I don't know if something happened in the womb, like I have no idea, but I pretty much came out of the belly, like chronic infections. I was a sick kid, not like I couldn't function as a kid. Like I was still a regular kid, but I would constantly have infections. Like I got strep throat a billion times, and like tonsillitis and this and that. So it's like always been something that's been in my life, but it didn't really, like, I didn't really think anything of it. Cause like most people are like, oh, whatever, like it's a kid. Right. But then when I was 20 in college, I started getting really sick. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, like, this is all connecting.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like something is obviously wrong here that I've been ignoring for 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when, for me, I was like, okay, something's up. And I always say it was a very long journey, because obviously, if you like just know I was sick, like obviously I was not raised very healthily. I was always tell people like I was raised complete 180 than what I am now. Like I was raised off Pop-Tarts and cereal and all the processed foods. Like I feel like, how people say 80-20, I was 80-20 the other way. Like most of the things I were eating were processed, inflammatory, like very, very, like, no wonder I was so sick by the age of 20. Like no wonder. And I make fun of my parents all the time, but genuinely they didn't know better. And I feel like social media wasn't a thing there. There just wasn't any education. So it was just how I grew up. And when I was 20, I got pretty sick. I started feeling really like a lot of gut issues. I've always had a sensitive gut, but it like just in the face with like bloating and constipation. And I had chronic fatigue that I could not even get out of bed. I couldn't function. Like it was really bad. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you at the moment. So it's pretty like intense, and like it just all kind of collapsed all at once. And I was like, what the hell? But it took a long time. At first I, didn't know, and I went to doctors, and obviously doctors aren't going to look at your diet, and they're not going to look at things from a holistic lens. And I spent years and years going to specialists and practitioners and this and that and doing that and that. And they told me something was wrong and they couldn't give me anything. They just told me it was anxiety. It was just in my head. It was normal, it's hormones, whatever they wanted to label it as. But I don't know. It's beyond frustrating. And after a while, obviously things just got worse and worse. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I need to kind of take matters into my own hands. And like my senior year, so like 2 or 3 years after I first got sick, that's when I kind of changed everything. And I started really educating myself on nutrition and fitness and lifestyle. And it took a lot of time. And it's like so crazy because, now I'm 25. So it's been 5 years. So it took really 5 years for me to educate myself on everything, like really get these tools and kind of have these habits where it's like so weird. Like I don't eat any processed foods. I don't do any of that stuff. So it definitely was a journey, but I do a lot to kind of maintain my health. But I had a lot going on and I healed it all. Now I had autoimmune that I was able to send into remission. So I no longer have it. It doesn't bother me at all. I had a lot of gut issues that don't longer have it. So I'm very grateful for that. But it took time. It took time.
Yeah. That intentionality, because it does. I mean, you have to change your entire lifestyle in terms of how you fuel your body, how you move your body, what your body responds to. And I think this is, you mentioned your age, you're young. I mean, so this understanding that these things, many times they do start at young ages in birth. It doesn't have to be something that comes up later. Now, sometimes what happens is these things will stay untended for years and then they'll flare up come midlife. Once you get close to hitting perimenopausal and menopausal years, it will come up. And I know women and have friends that have never dealt with it. And then it got so bad, they just kind of tolerated it. You made such a critical decision for yourself. And I want to commend you for that. You just like, no, I'm not just living like this. I'm not going to just take these answers. And it's another example, I think, so many times women get gaslit when they go to traditional practitioners. They continue to be, we're telling them what's happening in our bodies, and they continue to minimize the answers and find other excuses because they haven't gotten outside of this box of Western medicine to get more curious. And that's really what holistic medicine allows you to do, is to bring in that curiosity piece, get upriver instead of just being downriver responding all the times. And this really goes nicely into confidently setting boundaries. There were some healthy boundaries for you that you had to create for yourself around what you took in and how you took it in. And so talk to me about that journey of realizing, okay, in order for me to do this for myself, I'm going to have to be really, disciplined maybe is the word, but for my own good, like out of love for myself and the desire to live the healthiest version of me.
It's so funny. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's discipline, but it's also just like, for me, like necessity. Like it's like, it comes like, I know it can be like, for me, a little bit much, like I can be very obsessive over it, but like, I'm like, yes, I'm young, but there's like, I don't feel young. Like a few years ago, I was so freaking sick. Like I couldn't get out of bed. So for me, it's like, it isn't like, oh yeah, I want to do these things. It's like a need. And it's like, it genuinely has changed my life, and I'm never going to take that for granted. So I think for me, like I put a lot of boundaries in on myself of like, okay, like you've come from A to like, Z, like you've changed your whole life in 5 years and like done all these things. Like you cannot just stop. So for me, it's like mostly about me and like putting myself first and like knowing what is important to me, and also not letting other people dictate that. Like for me, when I got sick, biggest example, I was in college. I stopped drinking cold turkey. I have not touched a glass of alcohol in 5 years. And, I've been around people who have peer pressured me. I was in college. I have friends who wanted to go drink, and I had to stand my ground. So that's just one example, but that's just who I am. I am not going to let other people tell me and like affect my own health. And I think that's where I see a lot of the women I work with get lost, because the people they surround themselves with are not aligned with their goals and their needs. And I work with a lot of women who are like chronically ill, like I was, but also a lot of women who want to lose weight. And they're like, they allow their friends to take them out and eat dessert, and they kind of are around these people who aren't in the same mindset. And I think for me, it's like, if I need to do this, I need to just either be alone or find people who build me up. And that, like, I did that. Like, I had to like let go of a lot of relationships in my life. I had to rebuild different relationships. I had to find people who were more aligned with me. And yeah, that looked really lonely at times. And that was really difficult at times, especially trying to, cut out people and like rebuild and like set boundaries with people. But it was definitely worth it, because the people in my life are just like me, right? And maybe they're not exactly the same, but they're very motivated. They're health motivated. They care about the food they're putting in their body. They're, very dedicated to their goals. And when I am around people who are not like that, it just doesn't align anymore. So for me, that was the biggest thing for me, to set boundaries. Like, I had to do that for myself and be with people who respected that. And that was hard, especially, like I said, with my parents and my family, like my family members. I'm, the one of one. I know, I feel like it's better now. It took me like, 3 years to convince my mom to go to the gym, but I got it, but it's much better now. But I was like, this is who I am. And, and that's just, it's okay. And that's okay to just be who you are and know what you need, and to tell people that and not be afraid, and to say no when somebody asks you to eat something is going to hurt you, or drink something, or do something, anything like that. I feel like for me, it was like, I need to do this, and I'm going to do this. Like, I'm not going to compromise. I have my non-negotiables every day.
Yeah. The non-negotiables for your health and well-being. I mean, these are not mere inconveniences. These are things that impact your health. And I think that's a really, and we'll talk more about this in a bit, but surrounding yourself with people that love you and respect and honor where you're at, it is such an important piece of that, and not feeling like there's something wrong with what you're doing or how you're showing up. And that can be tricky, because it's, like I said, this isn't like, oh, this is a choice I made just to be different. This is a choice I made for my health. I want to feel well. And I know in order for me to feel well, these are the things that are necessary for me. I hope you'll come along with me on this, but if you won't, okay, I can love you from afar, and I'm going to surround myself with people who are going to support what I need for me to be healthy. So thank you for sharing that. Talk to me about this. Had to have, especially growing up, we talk a lot about emotional, mental, physical health all being connected. I mean, I think that's one of the key components that we find in holistic health, is asking those questions of the impacts all these things have on other parts of our systems. Our systems are all interconnected. But, going through this growing up, that had to be really tough emotionally and mentally, not just physically.
Yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, like I said, as a kid, like I did not notice it. But like looking back, I do notice it.
Sure.
Like I did, like, very young age, got diagnosed with like depression, anxiety, OCD, like very young age, like 12 years old. So like that was just something like that I had. And of course that had other factors outside of just my gut. But that does also, like, I saw a huge improvement in those things when I did start focusing on my health. So that was something that I was like, okay, wow, like depression and these things obviously have a gut health component. And when I, maybe eat badly a certain time, like I do get anxious, and I do notice that, and I do know the food we are eating like impacts the way we feel mentally. Like I struggled a lot with one of the things that I contribute to healing my chronic fatigue is food. Like I had brain fog, like I could not think, I could not speak, I could not be in a room. It was like huge dissociation just in my brain, and it was so much inflammation. So that for me was huge. Nutrition, like when I started focusing on that, like, and all my clients say the same things. They're like, within like a few weeks of just a simple nutrition changes, they're like, wow, my energy has completely changed. And it's like, yeah, like it's crazy how much nutrition impacts those things.
Yeah, it really is that. And I think we've just started over the last maybe 10, 15 years, started talking about that gut health connection to our brain, to the anxiety, to the depression, to the mental. I mean, there's just so much more going on in the gut than we realized now. And having those, realizing like, oh, some shifts here really do matter in terms of the chemical imbalances and getting things where they should be. And also owning that if I go down a certain road, these are going to be the impacts. But talk to me too about how was this, because it can be tricky when you have to make these adjustments and not in feeling not, restricted by it, and having these restrictions in your life not feel, imprisoning, but then knowing that the balance of that is if I go down and do these things for myself, I'm going to feel so much better. Does that help you kind of cancel out the like, ooh, I can't really indulge too much in that, or I'm going to pay a price?
I'm very grateful that I've never had any huge issues around food.
Okay.
I mean, I definitely have had little ones for sure. I think when I first started making nutrition changes, I was very uneducated, and that led to me like losing a lot of weight really fast, like in a healthy way. And I lost like 15 pounds when I did not need to lose 15 pounds.
Oh,
and
wow.
then I lost my period, like I got sick, and it was coming from a place of uneducation, and like that definitely hurt my relationship with food and the way I viewed food, just because I was like, what's going on? And when you deal with bloating in particular, I think that definitely has your mind thinking and like hating food, just because you're assuming that food is the enemy and food is the reason you're getting bloated. So I definitely had some like restrictive mindsets around food when it came to bloating and losing weight. I just was very uneducated at the time for about like a year. But I never had any sort of like intense eating disorder or like anything like that, but definitely a lot of fear around like just being sick. I felt like a lot of fear about food, but I felt like the biggest thing for me was just education. Like when I was educating myself about food, I understood that food is not just going to make me gain weight. I understood that food is not the reason I'm getting bloated. Like bloating is not coming from food. Food is not the enemy. And just understanding how the body works, how metabolism works, how your digestion works, like that, like is something like I bring into my work that I do now. Is like, I do not want to just tell my clients what to do. I want them to understand it so they feel confident about food and they don't see it as bad. Because I know a lot of women see food as bad, and it's like, okay, if I eat this, I'm just going to gain weight, or I'm going to be bloated, or I'm going to be this, and I'm going to be that. And I'm like, no, that's not true. That's not how your body works. And there's definitely balance here, and there's so much at play. So I love education, and that is just such a big part of like what helped me, and like what I love to do with my clients is just truly educate them, because I feel like that I do not feel restricted at all anymore. I do not feel around food because I understand like that is not the reason I was sick. I mean, partly of course, but like not like, that's not like, like the enemy. And I think that was so helpful for me, where I'm like, okay, I can eat these things and I can do these things. And I just think education would be like my biggest thing. If you understand how the body works, not only will that help you heal your body and lose weight, but that will help you have a healthy relationship with food. And I think that's what for sure.
Yeah, I love that you made that correlation. I think that's so important, that education piece and knowing how our bodies work and understanding what our bodies are capable of. Our bodies, I think, are capable of so much more than we realize or give credit to. I would definitely say so much more than a lot of traditional Western medicine models give credit to. If we allow the body to do what it was designed to do and resource it properly, it can heal and do amazing things. And you were able to find that education and create that healthy relationship and understanding. So I'm so glad you addressed that. And that goes nicely into how we can support ourselves and other women in living unapologetically. This was really your road to this for yourself. But talk to me about where you found that education and how you decided that not only were you going to help yourself, but you wanted to help other women as well.
I mean, like for me, like I didn't know about functional medicine for a while. I didn't really think about nutrition for a while, but as soon as I did, like it was like a no-brainer. I'm like, it was just like totally like made sense, and everything fell into place with my story and like everything that's happened to me. I was like, wow, like this is where it was leading me to. It's like this pathway to healing and healing others as well. So like for me, it was like a no-brainer. I started my business right after I was done at college, 23 years old. I was like, this is what I need to do and I have to do it. So like that for me, it was just very seamless. It was like very like, okay, I have to, but it just was such like a passion for me. Is like, I love these things. And I think like for me, it's like I could spend hours researching this and I could do it forever. And it like does not feel like work. Like I genuinely love what I do. I love my clients. I love everything about it. Like there's nothing that I feel so excited. And like I never had that before. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hate. I like worked a 9 to 5 for a month and quit. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. So for me, like everything about me is just like, okay, I have to be in business. I have to help others. And that just feels so aligned. And I'm so grateful that I decided to give it a go. I mean, I didn't know anything about starting a business. I did not know anything about doing all these things. I just had a passion and I love it. And like, it's just like, I feel like helping women like with functional medicine, helping women lose weight, like is so much more than people think it is. Like, yeah, like I help women lose weight, but they also text me like, okay, now I feel more confident. I have more energy. Like, it's like so cool, like to see like someone grow within like working together and become so much more sure of themselves and smile again. Like some of my clients, when they first started working with me versus now, I'm like two different people. They're so confident, they're so happy, they're so alive. And I'm like, that's what this is. It's not about just losing weight. It's about coming home to yourself and being aligned and empowered. And I just love that. And it just I can't see myself doing anything else. So
yeah. Well, the smile that comes to your face as you talk about it, and that ability to be able to give women their health back, their life back, because when you feel like this, it's very restricting. It impacts all parts of your life and how you're able to show up in the world. How does it work? Do you go to a certain college? Do you get certifications? How does it work to become, to go down this road and be able to practice this?
Well, for me, when I learned about functional medicine, I started interning at other like functional medicine offices. And I quickly learned there was a lot I did not like about functional medicine. So for me, that's where I was like, okay, like that kind of was like, okay, I know what I want to bring to the table, because a lot of functional medicine offices won't look at your nutrition, which I think is a huge red flag. Yeah. And also functional medicine offices are very money forward nowadays, unfortunately, where it's like an arm and a leg, which is not necessary. And they're like giving you 30 supplements. And I'm like, your body cannot do that many things at once. Yeah. So I'm like, I've learned a lot of like what I did not like. So when I wanted my certifications, I knew I wanted to be nutrition forward. So that is like my first priority. Like, you're not going to heal unless you have nutrition. It's just not how it works. And that's why a lot of people go to functional medicine people and they're like, it doesn't work because they don't have the nutrition piece. Yeah. So for me, I did a nutrition like specific certification at first. That was like the first one I did. And then I did a personal training cert. So I do like, I do personal training. I do movement because I think movement is really important as well. And that's another thing most practitioners will not touch on is your nutrition and your movement. And then I did a functional medicine cert. So I did it all online. So I did 3, and that's kind of why I say holistic health, because I really do everything.
Yeah.
fitness, lifestyle, functional medicine, and all those things. And I think I'm like, okay, that's what I really wanted to build, because that's how I know people will be able to heal and also see results with their weight loss, with their bloating, etc. Is if they're like a one-stop shop. So that's kind of what I did. I did all online. I didn't do in person for any of them.
Okay. But I love that holistic piece. And I'm so glad you brought that up. If nutrition and movement is not part of the conversation, and I think it's really important to point that out. This isn't about body composition. We all have different bodies. We're all built differently. This is about how you're fueling and moving your body. That is a pivotal part of your health. And that is not being addressed. That is absolutely something you need to be like, no, this doesn't have everything I need here. And people like Lea do exist out there. And she's going to get a chance to share her resources at the end. And they're all going to be on our website as well at embracinglayers.com for you to access. But I'm so glad you brought that up. Well, thank you for bringing that into the conversation. That's such a pivotal piece of this. All right. And this really goes nicely into the importance of coming back to your why and values in everything you do. This is clearly what you are meant to do. You light up when you talk about it. The smile, the joy that it brings you. Talk to me about that moment when you realized that this was it. This is my why. This is what I value. This is what I'm going to do.
I don't know, like, if I had like a aha moment, because it just was like effortless to me. Like it was like, so I did my certifications online, but I also went to college. I do not use my degree. I don't use it at all. So like I went to college and I got sick in college, so I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I wasn't like my senior year that I kind of found these, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't change my major now because that would I don't want to be in school for longer. So I just did all online. So I did kind of two at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so that was kind of what I did. And like, I don't know, it's just like so effortless. And like, so basically after college for 1 month, I worked a 9 to 5 and with my degree. And again, that was like the only time I used my degree was for that month. And it was the most miserable and like soul sucking experience of my life. And I was like literally sitting there every day and I was like, I'm wasting my time and I'm wasting my energy. And this is brain rot for me. And it was just so not aligned. And like, that was like, I was like, I'm just going to quit. You know, I was 23 years old. I don't have kids. I don't have, a husband. I don't have any of those things. So I'm like, if I do not do this now, when am I going to do it? Because I have nothing to lose. So that was for me. I'm like, okay, I quit after a month and I was like, I'm gone. And I just went and I gave my all into my business, and it really stuck for the first year. I mean, growing a business is really, really, really hard. But I was like, it was just like, if I don't do this, I know, I know I have to. It was just like, I don't know. It was just like it wasn't like for me. I didn't think about it. I'm not somebody who really thinks a lot. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to listen and just go to what I feel. Yeah. And people are not like that, but I find that I just know that I know what's best for me. Like I moved like to California because of literally just my gut feeling. Like I never even visited California. My body was just like, I feel like you should go to California. And I just booked a flight and I moved. I didn't think about it. So that's just who I am. I'm like, whenever I feel something, I'm like, I know this is aligned and it always works out. So I'm not one who really sulks. I'm very like, hey, I know it's best for me. So yeah, that was kind of my experience where I was like, I know this is hard and it's not going to be easy and I'm going to be crying some days and I'm going to hate it some days. But now, like being in business for almost 2 years now, I'm like, it was all worth it. And I can't wait to continue to grow and learn and help women. I've helped like over 100 women now. And that's just like what lights me up.
Yeah. I love how you talked about how you trust yourself and you follow that intuition. That is invaluable because so many women struggle with that because we get these narratives. when we're little girls of the path we're supposed to take and what it's supposed to look like. And it's dangerous to trust yourself. You need to do all this research and all these things. And you have that inner knowing. That's so powerful. That is going to serve you, and it's already served you well. You listened to it, you trusted it, you believed in you, you invested in you. I think that is just such a wonderful gift. And when you can talk about it openly, it's an invitation, I think, for other women to be like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's something I need to put a little more thought into. Yeah. Or not thought into. Like, because we can
I think you think too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do too. Like, I'll think and I'll be like, well, should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm like, well, for me, it's like I have nothing to lose. Like, to me, I'm like, that's the worst that can happen, right? If my business didn't work out, I could just go get another job, whatever. If I didn't like California, I could move back home, whatever. I think people think too much and they're like, what if it doesn't work out? And I'm like, then you can always pivot, Like, it's not like everything's set in stone. I think so many people are afraid to try and they just get stuck. Like, I know, like my dad, for example, had a job he hated forever. And I'm like, and then at 60 years old, he's like, you know what, I'm going to try. And I'm like, there you go. So I'm like, I'd rather do it now than like regret it.
Exactly. Because so many times you said something so important there. We so many times think of what if it doesn't work out, instead of thinking, what if it does? What if it does work out? And doing that now and not waiting. So many people hit this 35, 45, 55, this midlife, we call them midlife crises, but so many times you simply haven't followed what you're aligned with. You've allowed yourself to live out of societal expectations, which goes beautifully into our next talking point, living out of your own expectations versus others. That's exactly what you've done. You've trusted yourself. You've made the shifts that you needed to shift for you. You haven't been deterred. And you're on this path now at the ripe old age of 25. I mean, you're living out of your own expectations, which is going to set you down such a healthier path for your life, where you're going to be living authentically to you. And when we live authentic to ourselves, it not only impacts how we feel, it impacts all parts of our health. You lessen your stressors, your anxieties, the depressions. Life's going to happen. Hard things are going to come. But you have that base, that foundation of knowing yourself, trusting yourself, and what your expectations are. And that will always help keep you and get you back on track when life's unexpected things come. And being able to be like, I'm in my 20s. I'm going to do this now. No reason not to. Not going to let fear stand on my way. It's me. I can do this. I love that. Such a great example of that. Have you always, like, thinking through, when did you think you got to that, like, no, these are my expectations, I'm going to follow them? Or have you just always kind of lived there?
Yeah. My dad always tells me, he calls it stubborn. So he calls it stubborn. He's like, I think he's funny because he's like, we always knew you would own a business. He's like, there's no way you would let somebody tell you what to do. So, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it's just, I don't know. I think he was kind of like that too. He's more stubborn than I am, but he owns a business. He opened a business when he was like I said, 40, 50 years old. So he did it later in life. That's always what he was supposed to do, but he never did it. And he always wanted to leave New Jersey. That's where I'm from, but he never did it. And he got married, shit happened, and he just never started until he was 40. And, it's like, what is like, just, I think he was like, I'm like, I guess I just kind of copied that, but it's like who I am. Like, I mean, my sister's not like that at all. So I don't know if it was like hereditary, but I've always been the more like stubborn, like one. And it's not like, I don't know, it's just who I am. And obviously I've grown into it, but no, when I want to do something, I'm going to do it. Like I said, I moved out of New Jersey when I was 18. I never liked New Jersey. I hated it. And like, I was 18 years old and I'm like, I'm going. And I'm like, my mom did not want me to. And I'm like, I cannot stay here. Yeah. I just know it's where I'm supposed to be. So yeah, I don't know. I just always I've just always just kind of been that kind of person.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that, see, that's a classic example. It's so interesting, the names we put to things, because I've been called stubborn a lot in my life too. But I'm like, stubborn or just resistant to letting myself settle. And so I think it's one of those things. Stubbornness is one of those character traits that can work for us and against us, but very much for us when it doesn't allow us to be something we're not, and doesn't allow us to stay in a space that isn't authentic to us, and us knowing and trusting ourselves that we can listen to our intuition and go down a path that's going to be honoring to who we are. And I think that's what you have done. So if it's stubbornness, it has served you well.
I know I'm stubborn. I know I am. I know I'm stubborn, but I'm also like, it is like just like will-hearted or like whatever. But it can be stubborn. But I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, I decided, like you said, I don't want to settle in my life. And I don't want to be somewhere like literally working a 9 to 5. I wanted to die. Like I hated it so much. So it's just who I am. And it's like, I don't want to hate my life. It's my life,
And I think that's something your generation has a much healthier handle on. I think, in our generation, it was like, go to college, get the degree, meet the partner, buy the house, get the cars, have the kids, all those things will make you happy. And it's like, I know so many people that tolerate their weekly jobs. They might make really good money and have the house and the cars, but they live for the weekend and the days off because their weeks are miserable. And they just have accepted that as a fact of life, because that is the narrative they were sold that would lead to success. And again, so many times that's why we get to these midlife crises. It's like, you are not living in a way that's truly honoring you. And that is always going to catch up with you at some point. And sometimes it can come out in really harmful ways when you act out because you're not getting curious about, why do I feel so unsettled in my life? How am I living in a way that's not honoring to me? We don't, instead we just do other things to act out that can end up being very harmful and hurtful to not only ourselves, but those around us. So I think it's so important. And I see this, throughout your generation you're making decisions about your life. Not just about, is this a good paying job in my degree? Yes. And also, does the culture operate in a way that's honoring and aligned with me? Do the hours, do the expectations, do I see opportunities for me to be my authentic self in this? I mean, you ask yourselves so many more questions about lifestyle and quality of life than just the degree alignment and how much it pays. And I think that is going to lead you all down to a much more holistically healthy life, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think that's so good. You've learned from your parents and grandparents, essentially, which is great. We always want you to do that. But you've seen, I think that can be true across a generation. You've seen like, they figured these things out and they changed these things, but these things, I don't think so. I don't think I need to do that 80-hour work week. That doesn't feel healthy to me, and I'll sacrifice the boat if it means that I can, have the overall health and lifestyle that I want, enjoy in my day to day instead of just living for the weekend.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Accepting the layered aspects of ourselves, all the pieces and parts that make up who we are, the things we love, the things we don't. You've had to accept that, all right, during my childhood, these things happened and it contributed to this, but I was able to make these shifts. And now I understand how my body works and why. So talk to me about your layers journey and kind of coming to grips with what you knew then versus what you know now.
I don't know. I just feel like as a kid, it's like I didn't have a choice over what I ate and what I did. So I feel like that obviously, I had no control over that. Sure. So it wasn't my fault necessarily.
Yeah.
I didn't have money to go get my own food and I didn't have a car, whatever.
Yeah.
And I went to college and, the first year of college, I feel like I was still much what I was doing as a kid. And then once I got sick is when I kind of was like pulling the layers back and kind of looking inward and kind of trying to figure everything out. And I feel like that for me was, I always call that my midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Like my quarter life crisis or whatever. But yeah, that was definitely like where I kind of opened the door to possibilities of being different and changing and not being like my family and not being like the people I'm around and kind of being different. I know I'm not a typical 20-year-old. I've never been a typical 20-year-old. And I'm okay with that. My boyfriend calls me a grandma, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Like, that's just like, I'm so happy and content and like feel really good about who I am. And I don't feel the need to drink and party and do college. Like, I don't feel the need to do those things. I know who I am and I know what I want to be. And like, that's just, you know what I mean? So for me, it was like my opening to be different than everyone I was around and kind of learn on my own.
Yeah. Well, I think too, you pointed something out so many times, and many times some people, humans are just born as old souls. I call them old souls, where they just have that inner wisdom, that inner knowledge about themselves. They don't need outside affirmations to convince them that they're on the right path for themselves. You're built that way. And so so many of these cycles and phases you go through while you're growing up with these things you're talking about, the drinking, the partying, you're not trying to find yourself. You're not running away from something. You're not trying to numb anything, because you already have this like inner knowing that's within you. And I feel like that's who you are in so many ways.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I had my phase when I was younger. Like I had more like, learning and growing phase. And like, definitely when I was like 12, 13, like high school, I feel like that was where I was a little bit, in that weird spot. And then like when I was 20, I was like, okay, like I'm here now. So I feel like I had that earlier than other people.
Sure. That makes sense. And also, when you're hit with a health crisis like you were, it forces you to step back. Like there's really not a choice. And so, you have a choice in how you address it. And you chose to take the proactive, I'm going to fight for myself and figure this out and not just Band-Aid this thing and tolerate this thing. But it served you really well. That curiosity and that inner knowing and that trust and keep digging for answers has served you so well. So good. All right. In living out F.E.E.L, finding empowerment, embracing layers, which is you are doing that. You talked a little bit about this earlier with boundaries, but talk to me about the impact that has on your relationship with yourself, as well as your relationship with other people. You've already talked about having to make some shifts in relationships to make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that are for you and what's well for you. Do you want to add anything to that?
I don't know. I don't know what to add to that. I think, just being a business owner, like being who I am, like it's more of a lonely journey. And I feel like I've always had myself and I've always been content with being more so alone than like around. I don't need a lot of people in my life. So I feel like that just is what I'm okay with. And I know like, my mom's like, she hates being alone, but for me, I'm like, very comfortable with like just who I am. And like, I do have, a boyfriend, I do have a partner. Like I'm not always alone. I do have friends. I just feel like I'm more like just like kind of determined and focused. That to me wasn't hard. I know like other people would be hard. Like it was not hard for me to move 3,000 miles away. It was not. It was the easiest thing in the world. It's just like, for me, it was never hard for me to kind of change and evolve. Like that doesn't scare me. So I think I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it goes back to that trust in yourself that you have, and knowing and trusting what's well for you, and being aligned with that. I think that's such an important piece. I love that you talk about not being afraid to be alone. So many people surround themselves with people because they're afraid to be alone with themselves. But we see that a lot and they're afraid of the noise and the things that are going to come up. And for years, I was afraid to be alone with myself. And until I was willing to get curious about the noise that was scaring me, the things I was unwilling to confront and face and walk through and deal with, it was then that I was like, oh, okay, if I can take the time to do that, then actually I find being with myself very refreshing and very content. And so I think it's that point where you can really show up well for yourself and for other people. You're so much healthier in relationships when you're not afraid to be alone with yourself. You know, you don't need those relationships. You want those relationships. And I think that's such a pivotal thing where it's a choice rather than you feel like I have to have this to survive. I want those. They're supportive and nurturing in my life, but I don't need them to survive. I choose them.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I feel like we all need relationships. It's just finding the right ones. For sure. Not being, for sure.
Yeah. I love that. All right. We are down to the rapid fire. Tell me 5 activities that nourish you.
I mean, I'm just an active person. So for me, like all I do is I go to the gym, I walk. That's like, for me, walking is like my number one. Like if I need a minute, I'm walking. Like I walk a lot. I'm like constantly walking. So I love to like go to the gym, walk. I'm just somebody who likes to move my body, and that's how I find peace. Like I love to play pickleball with my boyfriend. So I'm just a movement person. So definitely movement. I love to nourish myself with food. Obviously, like going to the grocery store is like fun to me. I love going to the grocery store, and then I love to take care of myself and like surround myself with people and good conversations and deep talks and stuff like that. And I love to travel, but that's not something I get to do often, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe someday. All right. And 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
I definitely want growth. I feel like I'm constantly growing. I mean, like I said, I'm 25, so I feel like I learn so much constantly. So growth for sure. I think just like strength. I mean, any time for me is like growth, strength, clarity, purpose, and then definitely like love. Like I definitely like love and like loving people. Like for me, that comes easy. Obviously, it's hard to be a coach and if you don't love deeply. So I always love and just like care about people. So for me, that's always important.
Yeah, so good. All right, Lea, tell people where they can find you, follow you if they want to work with you. And also these resources are all going to be listed on our website on the resources page at embracinglayers.com. But share right now with people how they can find you.
Yeah, I'm everywhere. So I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, you name it. It's just my name, Lea, Lea _ Dombrowski, which is DOMBROWSKI. So Lea _ Dombrowski on all platforms. And then my website is www.livingwithstrength.com. So my business is called Living with Strength, which just is literally who I am. So that's really how I named my business. But yeah, Instagram is definitely where I'm most active. So if you send me a DM on there, I'm definitely very active on Instagram, and I'm always happy to chat, ask questions. Like I'm always happy to talk to other people, especially those who resonate with me with like the weight loss and the bloating, like anything you need, like I'm here and I love to support you. So DM me for sure.
Okay. Lea, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for how you show up in the world. I think it's just so fun to share these stories and to show that it doesn't matter how old you are. You can be in touch with yourself. You can have that inner wisdom. You can follow that inner knowing, and you can share and be a light and be resourced. You don't have to get to a certain age to arrive at that. You can arrive at that wherever you are right now. And you're a shining example of that. I appreciate your time. And ladies, as you're listening to this today, I want you to really tap into that inner knowing. What is it telling you? And are there ways that you can honor that maybe you're not honoring that right now? Lea has talked a lot about trusting herself and making the moves that she knew were healthiest for her. And she trusted that. She didn't overthink it. She didn't question it. She just followed it? Is there an area in your life that maybe you need to be doing that? So that's going to be my challenge for you and my takeaway. Lea, any last thoughts for our listeners today before we wrap up?
Anytime somebody asks me that, I always like to tell people, like, you're not crazy. I feel like for me, like, I felt crazy for a long time, especially like you're saying with how we're just so dismissive to women and in doctors specifically. So I always tell people, and that comes back to the knowing, like if you feel something is off, like if you feel uncomfortable in your body, if you know something needs to change, trust that. And also don't let somebody else tell you that it's normal or that it's crazy. If you think something is wrong, it's probably wrong. And you need to listen to your body, because your body does communicate with you through things like bloating and fatigue and all these things. That's your body's way of communicating with you. So I always tell people, trust their body, trust what you know best. A doctor doesn't know you, you know best. So that's, for me, was like the biggest thing, is like, if I did not trust myself and trust my body, I would not have healed. So always tell people that they're not crazy.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. Our bodies are for us. They're not against us. I love that. Such a great way to wrap it up. Lea, thanks so much for your time today. Listeners, thanks so much for being with us. So many good nuggets in today's conversation. Take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time here on the F.E.E.L Podcast. Hello, and thank you so much for being with us today on this episode of the F.E.E.L Podcast. If you would like more information on how you can apply these talking points that I share with our guests in each episode to your own life, really utilize this F.E.E.L framework, go to embracinglayers.com, fill out our contact form, and let's set up a free 30-minute consultation to talk about how you can start living your most authentic, organic, healthy, F.E.E.L-fueled life. Thanks again for being with us today. We'll be back to you soon with another episode here on the F.E.E.L Podcast.